The implementation of the port's expansion project was expected to come from the EU pledge of about $1.7 billion, but this target fell far off the line. As the Minister Banjul explained, the West African state is now compelled to explore other alternatives.
In the event that our negotiations have been so far this protracted, we might as well look at the short measures that you have mentioned, Honorable Member from Serekunda. We are thinking of using the revenue generated by the ports and looking at it as a means of collateral to raise funds. Through the bonding system that government could use. To address quicker intervention into our plans.
The withholding on the pledges for development funding by partners like the European Union was expressed in a number of unbearable conditions for the Gambia.
The main one is your debt to GDP ratio. That one, is monitored by IMF, World Bank, and they advise all donors, no, don't go there because this country, their debt to GDP ratio is not good. That's the main one. But aside that, there are other conditions that they impose. Like you have to submit an ESI, that is environment impact study. They ask that. And your human rights, whatever. There are a host of things that they ask.
The country's national development plan described the expansion of the port of Banjul as a priority, despite the lack of tangible signs of progress in that direction. The Gambia Ports Authority, however, released tender for the expansion project, with a contract selection process that was expected to complete last year. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am DCC.
The Secretary General and leader of the Gambia Moral Congress, who was speaking during the party's official flag ceremony on Thursday, ruled out politics without morality, without which he believes society would be led to decadence.
We believe it is possible to practice politics with morality. And we believe with the foundation of morality as the cornerstone of politics, we will be able to drive away corruption in this country. We will be able to establish leadership with integrity. We will be able to enthrone honesty, decency, and respect for the dignity of labor in our body politic.
He says that morality in politics will consolidate national unity among citizens to create the right brotherhood that will lead to the success of the country. Mike calls on politicians to get rid of foreign principles and revisit the traditional values that the country was known for and make it a linchpin for the country's progress.
Respect for elders, a caring, compassionate society that has eluded us with the introduction of foreign values must be restored at the heart of the political conversation. So we seek to establish a society that cares for each other, that nurtures hope, and that works for results, and that produces prosperity for all and not just for the few.
The flag ceremony for GMC is scheduled for celebration every year to not only increase visibility for the party, but also to raise public awareness as the Gambia heads to elections later this year. For iAfrica TV, I am Omar Ahmad Toure.
Turkey's defense chief welcomed his Gambian counterpart with a guard of honor on Wednesday. Turkey's Hulusi Akar and Gambia's Sheikh Omar Faye held a one-on-one meeting before interdelegation talks, according to the Turkish National Defense Ministry. Turkey's Chief of General Staff, General Yaska Gola, and Gambia's Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Yakuba Drame, also attended the meetings. During the meetings, the two parties exchanged views on bilateral and regional security, defense issues, and cooperation opportunities in the defense industry. Turkey has been one of Gambia's leading partners in the security sector since 1991. Cooperation agreement in the field of military training has been the driving force behind the 56-year-old relations between the two countries. Bilateral relations between Gambia and Turkey, which were initially exchanged exclusively in military domain, as well as at the international fora, such as the United Nations and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, have become more comprehensive and multifaceted after the opening of the embassies in Banjul and Ankara in 2011. On the basis of friendly and fraternal relations existing between the two countries, many bilateral agreements, protocols, and memorandums of understanding have been signed. Reporting for Africa News, I am Amadou Kante.
The items, which include a patient monitor and antigen-based rapid diagnostic tests worth close to $1 million US. WHO donated the equipment to boost the health sector and help the government to fight against the coronavirus. Dr. Ahmad Lamin Samate, the Minister of Health, expressed delight to have received the equipment. This, according to him, means early diagnosis and treatment, as it will fasten healthcare response in this uncertain period.
These are life-saving items that come to boost our ability to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. As the WHO representative, we call him the WR, has said, the response is in various forms, but also critical in the response is the identification of the people who are affected, who are infected. They need to be diagnosed. So having the diagnostic tools is a very important part of the response. Otherwise, we just assume people are infected and we don't have any evidence.
The WHO country representative to the Gambia, Dr. Dexter Tirini, affirmed the organization's commitment to supporting the government of the Gambia in the fight against COVID-19. Dr. Tirini called for concerted effort in curbing the further spread of the virus.
If every one of us take responsibility and use the preventive measures that we know, like washing hands, keeping distance, wearing the masks all the time, we can actually further also strengthen the response in the country. So there is no little contribution. Every contribution that we do as individuals is very important.
The year-long coronavirus pandemic continued to ravage the world. Many countries are still registering new cases despite vaccine rollouts. The Gambia currently recorded a total of 5,019 COVID-19 cases with a death toll of 153. The country also registered 4,525 recoveries as of the 13th of March 2021. The West African country in early March received its first batch of the COVID-19 vaccine through the COVAX initiative, and vaccination campaign is underway. However, many raised concerns regarding the safety of the vaccine. In response, the Minister of Health, Dr. Samate, reassured the public of the efficacy of the vaccine and urged for the full participation in the vaccination campaign. Reporting for iAfrica TV News, I am Binta Fati. It is believed that women are more vulnerable to COVID-19 related economic effects because of the existing gender inequalities. As a result, the UN held its 65th session to look into the challenges women face. The theme was centered on women's effective participation in decision-making, as well as elimination of violence for achieving gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls. The U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris said it is important for women to be equally involved in decision-making processes.
The status of democracy also depends fundamentally on the empowerment of women, not only because the exclusion of women in decision-making is a marker of a flawed democracy, but because the participation of women strengthens democracy. And that's true everywhere.
To consider the status of women, VP Harris added that the world must also consider the status of democracy as well.
At its best, democracy protects human rights, promotes human dignity, and upholds the rule of law. It is a means to establish peace and shared prosperity. It should ensure every citizen, regardless of gender, has an equal voice, and free and fair elections that will respect the will of the people.
The COVID-19 pandemic has drastically increased gender equality, which affects women around the globe. The employment rate dropped drastically as a result of social distancing measures. This has impacted sectors with more females. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Over 250 Senegalese migrants flee to Tabokoto due to the riots which occurred on Monday in Sanyang village. The Gambia Red Cross Society has distributed 160 blankets, 80 buckets, 48 bottles of Madar's liquid soap, 40 bottles of 5 liters disinfectant to the displaced population. The National Disaster Management Agency also donated food and other sanitary items worth $480,000 says. Sanyang grabbed national attention on Monday when the angry mob struck by the death of a native of the village. The youth of the community burned down the Sanyang police station, a fishmeal factory, and stores built on Sanyang beach. Some of the Senegalese victims who had been here for 4 decades lamented on the manner they were treated.
We
were first taken to Sambuja before going to Sanyang in the afternoon. Then we took a boat to Tabokoto. Honestly, we appreciate the support we received from the police who escorted us. We are now safe and secure, but it was really challenging for the Senegalese nationals residing in Sanyang. We have to always wish each other well so that we can live in peace. Without that, it would be difficult for us to unite as one people, because Senegal and the Gambia is one, so we should all preach peace.
Executive Director of National Disaster Management Agency, Sana Dahaba, advised the people of Sanyang to restrain from violence.
What I will advise the population is to be more tolerant, and also that democracy does not mean the breakdown of law and order. It means the rule of law. So when such things happen, people should not take law into their own hand. We should make sure that we follow due process in terms of following the law. I think that will address the situation. If really people they think that peace is very expensive, let them try war.
One of the Red Cross members underscored what the Red Cross Society have done since the displaced persons came to Tabokoto.
Well, I think Red Cross did wonders. That's my opinion, actually, because since we had the information, we had it from just a volunteer. That's something that's happening inside. So we just decided to activate our contingency planning. That's how we went to Sanyang, and we tried to mobilize some of our ambulances, 2 ambulances, and since then we are responding to the most vulnerable people within.
The incident triggered tension between the youth of Sanyang and the security forces. Police fired tear gas at the violent protesters, while the army briefly sent in troops to aid the police in controlling the situation. According to the Gambia Red Cross Society, the riot left 23 people injured who were later rushed to Sanyang Hospital for treatment. Senegalese ambassador to the Gambia, Basir Hussein, on Monday faulted his fellow Senegalese for allegedly killing Jibril Cissé. The police high command assured the public that thorough investigation will be conducted in the case of robbery with violence resulting in the death of Jibril Cissé, and justice will be served. The perpetrator is currently under police custody, helping with investigations. iAfrica TV can reliably confirm that some substances of suspected cocaine and cannabis were found at the Chinese fishmeal factory, which is treated as a crime scene. For iAfrica News, Binta Jallo.
The Honorable Member for Banjul South, Fatoumata Tumanjai, recommended that all the alleged killings that took place should be investigated and a report to be presented before the Parliament. According to her, the government should invest in the youth and stop depending on foreign aid.
I think they should also invest a lot more rather than depend on goodwill from outside to develop our youth. Honorable Speaker, the youth are always recognized as the backbone of this country. But what are we doing? We should recognize the importance of youth development in nation building. And I think if this government is serious about nation building, they shouldn't pay lip service in youth development. They should focus more and invest more in youth empowerment, in youth development. That is the only way they can address the root causes of these issues.
The Honorable Member for Nyamina East, Omar Sise, argued that the security sector is meant to protect the life of the people and their properties. He added that 3 people have been reportedly killed in his constituency, saying if the killings continue, the security sector reform will be questioned.
And obviously, if we continue seeing people being killed on the street, obviously then one will be doubting whether or not the security sector reform it is actually going as one would expect it.
Fatoumata Jawara, the National Assembly member for Talinding, pointed out that the security sector alone should not be blamed, saying the actions of the youth should be condemned. She recommended the adequate equipment of the security forces so as to carry out their responsibilities effectively.
We cannot, this is a collective responsibility. We cannot blame the government, neither the police institution. We all condemn the killing that happened at Faraba Bantang. We all condemn the security officers. It means that we are disarming them. If we want the security personnel to operate and put this country in the right direction, we must equip them and we must encourage them. But we should not be saying that the police are not doing their job with the risk attached to their work.
Sanyang grabbed national attention on Monday when an angry mob stalked the death of a native of the village, burnt down Sanyang police station, a fish meal factory, and stalls built on Sanyang beach. The incident triggered tension between the youths of Sanyang and the security forces. The protest was in retaliation for the killing of one Jibril Sai, a Senegalese national, who is said to have been working at the Sanyang fish meal plant. According to the Red Cross Society, the riot left 23 people injured, who were later rushed to Sanyang Hospital for treatment. Over 250 Senegalese migrants have also fled to Batakunku village over the violent protests. The Red Cross has since distributed blankets and hygiene products to the displaced population. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Khadija Sega.
The visit, according to him, is meant to showcase the joint security success the two countries had gained during the late IGP Job's tenure in office. General Lam said the two security chiefs had common agenda to strengthen the existing relationship between the two countries, calling Job as a God-fearing leader who dedicated his life to serving his country. He further commended the smooth movement of goods and services between the two countries.
Ousmane Sy moo ñu yónni pour ñu ñëw jaale ci police Gambie.
General Ousmane Sy sent me and my delegation to come and pay condolence to the Gambia Police Force, the people of the Gambia, and the family of the late IGP. My boss and the late Job were not just colleagues but friends too, and had constantly been in touch to strengthen the existing relationship between the two countries. That's why he personally should have been here. But due to the situation in Senegal, that's why I'm here with this delegation on his behalf to present his heartfelt condolences to the family and the Gambia in general.
The family of the late IGP Job said although they have lost a family member, but have seen and felt the testimonies of people from all walks of life. The family further expressed gratitude to the Senegalese government, particularly the police administration, under the leadership of General Ousmane Sy, for sending his deputy to the Gambia. This, according to the family, shows his qualities in leadership. Mr. Ousmane Gay, a cousin to the late Job, described him as a role model and a good leader whose qualities of leadership should be emulated by young officers to promote peace in the Senegambia region.
Mahmoud Job was a school that every Gambian can learn something from Mahmoud Job. And religious leaders have said a lot about him, relatives, friends, even the police. If you want a good attitude, you can learn from Mahmoud Job. Dedication, you can learn from Mahmoud Job. respect for duties, you can learn from Mahmoud Diop. Sympathy, go and learn from the school of Mahmoud Diop. That was why I think God have assigned him to be a police training instructor for quite a long time. So whatever good attitude we see from the police, we have to thank him for that. We know that it's from the late Mahmoud Diop. It's only Allah who can pay him. And I know even the President Adama Barrow, know that he has lost a great leader, somebody who was his right hand. We, the family, we were very shocked, but because of the crowd, the good deeds that people have explained, have reduced our sadness, and change it into joy, because now we know that our own relative Mahmoud Diop was a great man.
Gambia's Deputy IGP Abdoulaye Sanyang revealed that his former boss was very keen in strengthening the bilateral relations between the Gambia and Senegal.
There has been a cordial relationship between the Gambia and Senegal. So the relationship between the Inspector General of Police, the lead, and the Director General of Senegal Police is not only a working relationship, it's a family tie. They talked almost every day. They last spoke last Wednesday. I spoke to both of them. So that relationship will be further cemented, and we will ensure that these two forces work together for the benefit of the two countries.
Police Chief Mahmoud Diop died last Saturday at Medicare Clinic in Brusubi. The late IGP Diop served in various units of the police force for about 40 years and spent the greater part of his career as the administrator of the police training school in Yundo. The late Mahmoud Diop is survived by 3 wives and 4 children.
This session is to review the progress made in the past year and craft a way forward by improving some of the setbacks the organization may have encountered during the year under review. To complement the government's efforts, FAO aims to diversify the agricultural production base, upgrade horticultural production systems, and enhance food security. Sibu Rampedi, FAO country rep, says the country's programming framework should be in line with the National Development Plan. Rampedi added that through the programming framework, matters relating to key agricultural activities were addressed.
Through the CPF, ladies and gentlemen, we are able to address matters related to modernization of agriculture, agribusiness, fisheries, and this addresses the strategic objective number 3 or priority of the National Development Plan. The National Development Plan expects that through agriculture, forestry, fisheries, the environment, and nutrition, we should be able to deal with matters related to human capital development. And we should put emphasis on nutrition, social protection, not forgetting that the youth and the women also deserve a special attention.
The African Union has set a target to eliminate hunger and food insecurity by 2025. However, FAO says there is a lot to be done for the realization, as Africa is not currently on track to meet these targets.
As the Gambia working for agriculture, natural resources, and fisheries, we've been able to contribute to Africa's commitment to end hunger. I shy to say, when the commitment was made, we all looked at 2025 as a target year, but we all know that it's still difficult. There's still a lot of work to do, but joining hands, we can still make progress by the time we get to 2025.
Ami Fabre, Minister of Agriculture, says her ministry has been engaging the FAO on its national and international commitments. She adds that Gambian farmers have benefited from FAO's activities.
In 2020, in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic, more than 14,000 farmers benefited from input support ranging from seeds and fertilizers. The technical services of Department of Agriculture, the National Agricultural Research Institute, Department of Livestock Services, and the National Seed Secretariat all benefited from some form of capacity building and institutional strengthening.
The Food and Agriculture Organization helps to eliminate hunger, food insecurity, and malnutrition. It is also seeks to make agriculture, forestry, and fisheries more productive and sustainable by promoting inclusive and efficient agricultural systems. Reporting for iAfrica News, this is Mariama Cham.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Mamadou Tangara, underscored the importance of every project the Gambia benefit from. He said adopting the project will strengthen the security sector reform and enhance peace for the people.
Honorable Speaker, by ratifying the agreement between the government of the Gambia and DCAF, the Gambia commits to DCAF's program in the Gambia, which seeks to contribute to meaningful security sector reform and greater accountability, leading to improved peace and security for the Gambian population.
The National Assembly member for Busumbala, Sekou Bajaju, mentioned that the DCAF had followed all the recommendations.
The return of the Gambia military mission from Sudan followed the passage of United Nations resolution to reduce the number of military and police presence in Darfur beginning January 2021. After 7 months on the peacekeeping mission, the latest Gambian contingent in Darfur returned to Banjul, a situation well described by Major Abdou Jatta, the second in command of the GAMCOI 23.
We knew that the mission was not going to be long because before our departure, it was clear to us that the mission's mandate would end on the 31st of December 2020. We went on that mandate. And then the missions, any mission you see runs under a mandate. Once the mandate is terminated, troops no longer stay. The mission's mandate was to end and a new mission was to take over, which is a civilian-led mission, unit called UNATAMS. So UNATAMS mandate kick off on the 1st of January 2021.
Brigadier General Turu Jawane, who doubles as the commander of the Republican National Guards, represented the Chief of Defense Staff in receiving the gunmen at Banjul International Airport. He commended the troops for their professionalism during the mission and welcomed them back to their bases.
We have an in-house rules. The in-house rules, one of them is you are to be quarantined at, is it Park? I don't know. One of the hotels, I don't know. But then again, you are all to be there. Simply, you are going to follow the test. I'm not too sure. If you are found to be negative, no problem, I'm sure you'll be discharged. If you are otherwise, that's another thing. Not my fault, not your fault. But by Tuesday, let me remind you once again, you should be there. Then it will be worked out for you, your per diem or whatever, your salary or whatever, it will be computed and it will be paid to you. There's no doubt about that. We are ready for that.
The war in Darfur began in February 2003, when rebel groups accused the Sudanese government of oppressing Darfur's non-Arab population. The Gambia sent the first contingent of soldiers to Darfur in 2004, and since then, troops have regularly been replacing one another. The last batch to have returned from Darfur will see the United Nations replacing the military and police intervention with civilian presence. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Desise.
Magufuli's death comes after weeks of uncertainty over his health and rumors showing that the coronavirus skeptic had in fact contracted the virus. The government denied that Magufuli was ill as pressure mounted on the authorities to explain his almost 3-week absence from public view. Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta ordered that the Kenyan flag and that of the East African community be flown half-mast until the late Tanzanian leader's remains are interred. Uhuru says the world has lost a great leader as he describes Magufuli a champion of a Pan-Africanism.
We have learned with profound sorrow and indeed immense sadness of the untimely passing of my dear brother, His Excellency John Pombe Magufuli, President of the United Republic of Tanzania. On behalf of the government and people of Kenya, I convey our sincere condolences to the First Lady of Tanzania, Her Excellency Janet Magufuli, their children, the entire Magufuli family, and indeed affirm our deep solidarity with the government and people of Tanzania.
Uhuru ordered for a week mourning of Magufuli throughout Kenya, as the flag of the East African Community and that of Kenya shall be flown at all public buildings and diplomatic missions abroad.
Therefore, I, Uhuru Kenyatta, under the authority vested in me as the President of the Republic of Kenya, do hereby order and direct that in testimony to the high esteem in which the people of Kenya hold President John Pombe Magufuli, the Republic of Kenya will observe a 7-day period of national mourning, and also that as a symbol of our enduring respect for the fallen president, as well as our solemn solidarity with the people and the nation of the United Republic of Tanzania.
The late Tanzanian President John Magufuli died at a hospital in Dar es Salaam, aged 61. Tanzania's main opposition leader Tundu Lissu says Tanzania's President John Magufuli died from the coronavirus. Magufuli has been playing down the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, claiming Tanzania had freed itself from the COVID-19 through prayers. The Vice President, Samia Suluhu Hassan, is sworn in as President to complete the unexpired term of late President John Pombe Magufuli. Reporting for iAfrica News, this is Mariama Cham.
International Solar Alliance is an action-oriented, member-driven, collaborative platform for increased deployment of solar energy technologies in ISA member countries. Fafa Sanyang, the Minister of Energy and Petroleum, said the membership of ISA is open to United Nations member states. The states, he continued, become part of ISA by signing the agreement and having deposited a ratification approval.
Partner countries are eligible to participate in programs of the ISA with the approval of members participating in the program. The amendment clause now reads that as Article 7 now reads, membership is open to states which are members of the United Nations. Such states become members of ISA by having signed this agreement and having deposited an instrument of ratification and acceptance and approval. Honorable Speaker, after the scope of membership is open to all UN member countries, the affluent and technologically advanced countries on becoming members will be able to contribute in achieving the objective of ISA by way of sharing knowledge, technologies, best practices, and resources needed. In addition, once the membership is open to all UN member countries, it will expedite the process of acquiring observer status at the United Nations for ISA.
The National Assembly member for Upper Salum, Alaju, said Gambia becoming part of this association will be helpful, as many countries are moving towards cleaner energy.
What this association intends to do really is about cooperation among countries, or about sharing technologies, about solar energy, and also in terms of building capacity for countries that actually lack it. Honorable Speaker, if you look at all the countries nowadays, they're moving towards clean energy, especially renewable side. Now, first in the Gambia, I think you've just started to see what the ministry is actually doing in Jambu. And these are all aimed at actually helping us to get enough energy and also to get very clean energy in this country. So becoming part of this kind of alliance, I think is going to be very helpful in the sense that we'll be able to learn a lot from them in terms of capacity building, and we also try to know the latest technologies that are also involved.
However, the NAM for Central Badibu, Suleiman Saho, questioned the minister about the interest of the country in the agreement.
Now, we know that solar is what the world is going in for. And Gambia is not an exceptional in ensuring that we have, ensuring to have renewable energy. And we all know that the generators that we use they are not environmental friendly. They cause a lot of pollution, and that is hazardous to our health. But if the minister and the team did their thorough research to see to it that the interests of this country will never be compromised in the agreement. And you should go further to convince this House. What measures will you be taking as a ministry to ensure that the energy benefit us, where we will not have situations, countries, they capitalize on the agreement or the relationship, and they benefit more than us.
The framework agreement on the establishment of the International Solar Alliance for the Gambia was ratified by the National Assembly members. The goal of the ISA is to set the ground rules, norms and standards for solar energy in order to obtain a rapid and massive deployment in countries that are rich in solar resources but where the risks are still seen as high. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Amendao.
The European medicine found that the AstraZeneca vaccine jab was not associated with a high risk of clots after thorough investigations were made last week. As Somalia joins other African countries to receive its consignment of the AstraZeneca vaccine, the United Nations Secretary General Special Representative for Somalia, James Swan, acknowledged the effectiveness of the vaccine.
We encourage people to take the vaccine. We encourage people to continue with all possible preventive measures, hand washing, mask wearing, social distancing. COVID is still a serious threat. We need to stay vigilant. The vaccine will help, but it is not the only solution.
Somalia's Health Minister, Dr. Fauci Abika, reiterated that the vaccine can fight against infections and deaths.
After tireless efforts, we have managed to receive the first batch of the vaccine, and we are expecting to receive more. I would like to thank all the UN families for the tremendous work with the Federal Ministry of Health and the Federal Member State Ministries of Health.
Meanwhile, the EU's Medicine Executive Director, Emma Coker, said the agency will carry out further investigations and recommended raising awareness of possible risk. 13 European countries, including France and Norway, suspended the use of the vaccine over fears of a link to blood clots. The World Health Organization has equally called on countries to continue using vaccines as it is ineffective in protecting infections and deaths. The decision to suspend the use of the vaccine sparked concerns over many people, and this had affected the supply of the vaccine in poorer countries. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Debating on the Parliamentary Friendship Bill, Halifa Saleh Namfa Sadakunda advised that the relationship between the two countries should pave way for the exchange of knowledge and experiences. The partnership in his submission should be based on development and harmony, noting that the Gambia National Assembly has built competency which is worth sharing with others.
We would want a relationship where parliaments will be able to meet and harmonize legislation, oversight methodologies, so many activities that are taking place so that we mutually learn from each other. This parliament is developing a lot of capacity, and I'm sure other parliaments will be able to also learn from exactly what we are doing.
Namfo Willie West Weibu Ture observed that mutual relations of the two West African states should consolidate the existing ties between their people.
Honorable Speaker, the initiative will certainly be the catalyst to build and sustain the people-to-people contacts, which will definitely go a long way to building cooperation and understanding among our people. Let me inform you that the Woodley East has already initiated this contact between the people of Senegal and the Gambia to ensure that they help each other in securing their properties and themselves and ensuring this easy access of goods and services across the border.
The association of Woollies with her neighbors in Senegal is justified in local groupings where members discuss issues of mutual benefits including trade. Mohamed Mahanera of Sandu shared the view that the Senegal-Gambia relations are expected to go beyond social and cultural events to include economic and political aspects of development.
And unless there is a serious political will, put in place whereby two countries will observe and abide by, this issue of economic re-export trades will not really benefit our country. So these are things that we can really deliberate on, and made our counterpart country know that as people living together, it is our collective responsibility to make sure that the culture we share peacefully, the regions we share peacefully. We should also behave in that way when it comes in terms of economic benefits, when it comes in terms of political benefits.
Former relationship between Senegal and Gambia became a necessity after the British and French drew artificial borderlines to divide the West African empire in the name of colonialism. Despite this historical division, the two sisters signed the Senegambia Confederation in 1982 to promote cooperation between them. This merger could not, however, continue beyond 1989 due to growing concerns over individual autonomy. The two families have existing bilateral agreements in the areas of fisheries and aquaculture, trade and cross-border electricity, among others. Reporting for iAfrica News, this is Mariama Cham.
The country's national development strategy acknowledged the importance of transport to the development of the country. Nonetheless, the issue of transport, which includes the construction of good routes to serve as a connection to vital areas, has always been a challenge. Seiduba, the chef de garage of the Coastal Road Garage, said the construction of the section of the Tabokoto Road troubles their daily activities.
We are faced with a very big difficulty here because since the commencement of the construction of this road, they said it will take about a month, but it has been more than a month now. This has affected our work. We no longer getting the profit that we should be getting.
Samba Sise, a driver, also expressed dissatisfaction over the situation of the roads.
Between Tabokoto to Coastal Road, sometimes even if you are not driving, going there is a big problem because of the barriers here. It's been a long time now, and it is difficult for us because of these difficulties. Even vehicles that should go to Serekunda will tell you that they are stopping at Tabokoto, and that will not favor the customers.
Sri John, a commuter, said they suffer daily because of the conditions of the route, which she said often gives drivers opportunity to triple fares.
I
am pleading with the government to help the people of Costa Road. We don't have road, nor do we have a garage, and we should have a garage where vehicles will stop. Like most van drivers, taxi drivers also face similar problems. Sanadamfa, the leader of the Tabokoto taxi garage, said since the opening of the 5-5 garage over 20 years ago, their situation has never been better.
The water flows like a river. There are always broken pipes. The drivers here are always repairing their vehicles. The roads are just bad.
Due to the increase in the number of vehicles in the country, the demand for the construction of quality road and the maintenance of the existing ones is a necessity to ensure social and economic growth. Reporting for iAfrica TV News, I am Binta Fati.
The objective of the Petroleum Commission Bill is to provide a regulatory framework for the management and development of petroleum activities in the up- and midstream sectors for optimum exploitation and utilization of petroleum resources in the Gambia. This extends to the optimization of socio-economic development and the enhancement of the general welfare of the people. After reading the report, members of the House pressed their observations and amendments centered on the interests of the people. The National Assembly member for Lower Numi made this point very clear.
That in the establishments of boards, board members and so forth, indigenous local people have been involved, have been selected. It looks as if the establishment of all boards is centered on the fact that you have to be literate to be able to qualify you as a member of the board. Why not we go further? Because we are talking of local content. And these resources do not belong to those people. It belongs to the nation. Nation which is composed of people who have that Tubab knowledge and the ones that do not have that knowledge. And they still claim to be part and parcel of this nation.
Minister of Petroleum and Energy explained in reaction to the concerns of lawmakers on the involvement of the local people as needed to be captured in the bill.
The local content itself is a whole matter that requires more policy and regulations. I mean, this particular law is establishing a commission that will coordinate everything, including local content. So the plan actually is, which we discussed at the level of the committee, local content will come up itself as a whole act of itself and a policy that will expand the benefit to the people and who participate in the industry.
In order to gather evidence as per the passage of the bill, the Joint Committee engaged concerned authorities on meetings and submission of documents to validate the bill with amendments. Reporting for iAfrica News, this is Mariama Cham.
The Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Mourning, described the launch of the country's economic update as significant in fast-tracking recovery programs set therewith. The meeting done via Zoom vibrated the fact that Gambia was not left behind among recipients of the economic backlash brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. Finance Minister Njai prescribed the need to improve economic strengths in areas such as agriculture, trade and tourism,
with the aim of preserving macroeconomic stability. As the theme of this economic update goes, we must be in a position to preserve the gains which can only be achieved with knowledge derived from timely and relevant data. As we are all aware, sectors of the economy, especially tourism and agriculture, went through turbulent periods over the past years as a result of COVID-19 pandemic and effects of. With these two sectors being of growth and employment has suffered impacts with negative effects on our population. While considerable efforts have been made by government to ensure that these sectors remain resilient against these shocks, we for take on board the recommendations set out in the report to enable us to achieve goals. It is government's utmost to improve the lives and livelihoods of Gambians, which would be made easier if they are economically empowered.
The World Bank resident representative to the Gambia, Fiber Office, hoped that the launch of the economic update will help the Gambia to revive its economy.
A presentation on the findings of the report by the country economist, followed by a panel and some additional presentations on the subtopics. So I hope this session and the report will help the Gambia design sustainable, inclusive, and green economic policies that will galvanize the country and put it on the path to job creation and economic transformation.
The West African state with a least developed economy also depends highly on the export trade, tourism, and remittances from overseas. The country's main trading partners in Europe have been severely affected by a COVID-19 outbreak, causing a development crisis on both sides in terms of import and exports of goods and services. The country is trapped in an extreme debt-to-GDP ratio in the monitoring of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, who have advised donors to isolate the country until the mathematics improve. As a result, major infrastructural developments such as expansion of the Banjul ports remain stagnant due to lack of support from the international community. The European Union is among the international donors that have withheld the fulfillment of its pledges to support development projects in the Gambia on the basis of financial regulations. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
They say we slept in one world and woke up in another. This global tragedy got humans together despite our social distancing. Our nature is taking a break. And giving